Okay, welcome to my video. This is tips and tricks for doing portraits. First thing you want to do, you want to start with a blank screen on Procreate. This is version 5 on a 12.9 pad. I want to come down here and I want to insert a photo. And I'm going to do a portrait. Okay, and I'm going to pick this photo, and I'm actually going to slide it a little to the side just for a second here. And then I'm going to click the selection off. Okay, this is the portrait I want to do of this beautiful lady with some nice flowing hair. And before I do a portrait, I like to do a little research so I can get a better feel of what the portrait is really about, the darks, the lights, the highlights, etc. So I'll show you how I kind of do that. I'm going to go in here. Okay, I'm going to go in here again, and I'm going to insert another photo. And I'm just going to kind of put this right here for a second. Now what I like to do is I use the original photo, which is this one right here, and then I use the photo editor in my Samsung S9 cell phone, and it has these cute little things where you can change the type of picture to, you know, black and white, sepia, you know, all these fun little things. But what it does, it also helps you get a better feel for what the portrait is going to be like. For example, this is your original picture. This shows the highlights. If I can get that a little bit bigger, that starts to show where your shadow color should be on here, and you know what should be darkened. Well, this should be your lightest spot, and then it also starts kind of mapping out the hair. See, when you come to this photo here, it's a little hard to tell sometimes where your actual lights and darks are, but when you change it to this, it makes it a lot more obvious. I also like to use black and white, mainly black and white. Now this is a real dark version. If you want to darken a portrait down and make it a little darker than it is, you know, get it in your mind. I want this to look a little darker. The lighting's not quite as bright. This picture here, I'm going to pull up a different one. That's your black and white. I like to use a black and white, either a printout, or you can save it like this on, you know, pull it up, and you can toggle this off whenever you want. Let me load one more picture here. Let's see here. Okay, let's get a black and white. Okay, if I take my black and white picture and put it right next to the original, now you can kind of start to see the darks in the hair here, and you can see the shadow a little bit right here. It just gives you a different perspective without the colors, where you need to see your grayscale values. And I'm going to go to my colors here, and in my color selector I have a grayscale that I made myself and saved right here. You can buy a tool off of eBay. It's like $2 or $3. It's a Grayscale value tool, I believe is what it's called. The value tool has the values from pure white to pure black and the correct colors in between for grayscale for a black and white picture. And all I did was use my color selector to select the correct grayscale off of the tool to get my little palette set up here with that I use all the time. One second, I'm going to grab the tool so I'll show you what the tool looks like. Okay, this is the tool that I bought off of eBay. This is called a Grayscale and Value Finder. And you can actually, like, you know, use this tool. Okay, let's say the black. I can actually put this right now. I can tell that that right next to her face is pure black. And then you use the tool to, let's say I'm trying to find the shade for her lips. And I can come in here and you know, it's kind of hard to see where I'm at right now, but you come in here until you find the one that matches up. And then that's the colors that you use. You really need to have a black and white picture to use this. And they don't make one of these in color, which is, I guess it's too involved. But this is an excellent tool. I bought this for like $2 or $3 off of eBay. A Grayscale and Value Finder. Okay, now, like I said, now that I have my grayscale in there, when I get ready to paint my portrait, I have the dark for here and the lightest light, which would probably be, you know, almost white right here, is going to be your, and you need to go all the way through the whole scale to create a nice looking picture. You don't want to use too light of a dark and too dark of a light. You know, you want to have it balanced out. And I usually start out with the mid-tone gray, which I match up with mainly the major part of the face right here. And then I start working, and then I put the darks in and what have you. All right. The other thing you can do once you load, if you load a black and white picture, and I'm going to deselect this a second, you can use your color picker on a black and white photo to create this grayscale chart. It's a little bit, you know, you can make your own. You know, here's your dark. You know, you want to, you want to come over here and pick, you know, this is not quite, yeah, that's almost a pure white, pretty close to it. And then you want, and then you can add those colors to your color wheel. You can save them as color swatches. Create your own. Okay, now another thing I like to do, I'm going to select this again. If actually, I'll probably do it with the original picture here. Let me toggle this back off. Okay, now I have all these pictures here. Let me show you this. Procreate puts in each picture that I added on a layer. So this is your original picture. This is your background, original layer, another layer. I'm going to toggle that off. And then the black and white picture, I'm going to toggle that off. So now I just have my original picture again. If I click on the layer to select the layer, and then go to the magic wand tool, now I can come in here and I can pick color balance. And if you want to do your own playing around here, I can add some blues to tell where the whites are, because the blue and the white, when it mixes, the white in the face and the blue is going to make like a purpley light blue. So now you can see exactly where your whites, your lights need to be. Okay, now I'm going to come back here, and then I can do the same thing with the red. I can darken up the red, and you can kind of start to see some of your darks, where your darks need to be right here. Now you can do a screenshot of this with your iPad if you want. You can save this as your reference. I usually have one or two. I'm going to try and set this back to normal here. Now you can also come in here on your brightness and turn your brightness way down. Now that gives you more of an idea. Like right here, you can kind of see where your lights are. Like here's the light hitting here. It's hitting this half of the face. You got your darks over here. You can also lighten it way up, you know, if you need to do that for whatever reason. But you can play around with this stuff in your saturation. You know, you can adjust how saturated it is. You can go all the way to black and white. You know, now you can go dark and find your darks. This is a great tool for doing your I call it my research for my portrait before I do it. And also your hue, you know, I mean, you could actually change, you know, to make it a purple hue for whatever reason. I mean, you could do whatever you want. Okay, now, let me get back out of this. I'm gonna come back up here. I'm gonna turn this off. I'm gonna show you one other little trick too that I do. Oops. Okay. I'm going to select this again. Oops. I'll go up to magic wand here. If I draw a portrait in black and white and then I want to color it, it's real easy to do on Procreate. You can come in here, come into your color selections. Oops. Why is that not selected here? Oh, there we go. All right. Now, I can come in here to my color selection. I can do my saturation, my brightness. I can actually change, you know, if I wanted the picture to be a little darker or whatever. Let's say I wanted it about like that. Now I click on the magic wand again, and then I can go to color balance. Now I can come and grab the red here. I can add a little bit of red in. Maybe. Okay, and then I'll add a little bit of yellow. You have to play around with these a little bit. Now I can kind of come back. Let's see, I want to put some more yellow in, more red. Maybe I'll take some of that yellow out. And you can kind of get a skin color. Now you go back in the magic wand, go back to your brightness again. And if you turn your brightness up and your saturation, you can play around with these. You can start to get, and I see one of these I got messed up here somewhere, because you can, if you get these just right, you can get a perfect skin tone. There, I'm kind of getting a little bit there, but I mean, you keep playing around. Now, like I might have to go back in and recolor the hair or whatever, but the cool thing is, if you do her face on one layer, lips and eyes and what have you, then you can control the colors of the lips and the eyes on the layer. Do the face on another layer, you can control the shadows, the color on that layer. Then you can do the hair. Sometimes I do up to 5 layers on hair, and you can come in and you can recolor each of the layers for the hair with your brightness, saturation, hue, color controls. And you can actually end up coloring a picture in about 2 minutes flat. It's not perfect like it should be, but it's a quick way to do a color, to make a black and white color. You can also take a color one and make a black and white too, you know, just by moving these your saturation here, coming all the way down to nothing, and you can make it black and white. You know, you can take it up to where if you want it real light looking or whatever. Okay. So anyway, kind of the end of that little section there. I'm going to toggle this off. I'm going to toggle this off. Oops, back on. And I'm going to toggle this back on the original picture. Now, another thing that I like to do is want to create a layer, and this layer is actually going to be right above. Here, once you're done with these photos here, you can delete this stuff. Swipe left, delete. Swipe left, delete. Now the only thing we're dealing with is our picture. And I usually just print the black and whites to have next to me while I'm drawing. So, okay, now we've created a layer right above this face. Now what you can do is you can pick, I like to use a real nice bright blue. Let's do this blue right here. Come up here and pick a nice pen. Let's use this one right here. Okay, now you want to have this on 100% opacity, and you want to have the pen turned down pretty small. But then what you can do is you can outline your lips teeth. I'm doing this kind of fast just to show you here. Kind of do a little bit of your nose, maybe a little bit of this little, oops, a little bit of this coming down here. Then you come in here and you get a general location for the eyes. You want to do this. Maybe you want to put your eyebrows in. A little edge of the nose. Here's an eyebrow here. Eyebrow. Okay. Come in here. Do this. Let's say I want to come all the way around the face. Now I'm doing this fast, and when I'm doing it normally, you can be very accurate with it. I'm just doing this quick to show you. Okay, now once you have that, now you have a what I call map of where the features of the face should go. And you can, let's do the hair here too. Just the outline of the hair, just to get an idea. And then maybe the neckline here. And like I said, normally I do this very accurately. Okay, now, when you come in, you can toggle off the main picture. Now you have a place to start drawing. And you have them, oh, see, I didn't do her eye here, but let's see. I'll just go back in, oops. I don't have the layer selected, I don't think. Yeah, maybe I do. Anyway, you can map her eye in. You can map anything, jewelry, whatever, teeth on animals or whatever. Now, if that isn't the right shade for you, you can use the magic wand tool again and come back in and hit your brightness or your color balance, all this stuff. We'll adjust these lines. See, now I can make it dark. I can make the lines darker. When I'm done with it, if they're too dark, I can lighten them up. I can actually almost make them go away, make them turn to white. Sometimes I'll even leave this right to the very last of my drawing. I mean, like I said, you can do it real dark like that. You can make them. You can change the values here. You can make them red. I don't think. If I have this selected right or not, but you can make the lines red, blue, green, whatever you want. Now when you come back in, you can turn your original photo back on. Now I have very dark lines that you can see where the features are. If I want to go back in here, let's say those are too dark, I can't see them. I can come back into my brightness. Now I can lighten them up to where they're almost white. Now I can see them to be able to draw. Okay, now I come in here and I add another layer right above this one. Okay, now you can set this original layer to a reference, and that will let you draw on this new layer up here without affecting the picture below, the original picture. And you can draw like right over top of it. Let's say I wanted to start putting some skin tones in on this. So let's do this. Let's set. I got it set as the original picture set as a reference. Now I come to my new layer, layer number 3, and I'm going to take my picker tool and I'm going to pick this color right here, and that's her face. We come up here and I'm going to grab a nice airbrush, a soft brush here. Okay. You can put on whatever opacity you want, however big you want your brush. Now I can start actually adding color in here. I'm going to turn this down a little. I could actually start putting color in here. And it doesn't really look like I'm doing nothing. And I can kind of paint, where that color is. Now you can see I'm painting over that. And I'm not doing this very accurately. I'm just trying to show you the techniques here. Okay, now I can come and grab another color here. I can grab this darker color here, and I can start, putting this darker color in here, maybe a little darker color here. That's not the right color, but like I said, I'm showing you this. Okay, let's see if those are the colors you want to put in. You want a little shadow here. Okay, now, when you go back into your layers, I can toggle off the original, and that's what you have there. That's where you started actually painting the colors on layer 3 here. And if you want to see the lines of where I was actually drawing, you take the lines. This is I usually label these as what they are. This would be the outline layer of the face. You take this layer and you click on it and hold it, and you can move it above that layer. Now when you do that, when I click on that layer, oops, maybe not. Well, maybe make me a liar. You can usually, oh, I see why. I have it set real white. Okay, here we go. Go in here in your brightness. I'm going to turn this back to pretty black. Now you can see where I was painting these colors in the actual face. So I can go in here and I can toggle the real face back on. And I can toggle this off if I want to see what I'm doing. So you can kind of jump around, you know, back and forth between layers and see what you're doing there. That's pretty cool. Now you can add, you know, I like to add layers. I like to have the eyes and maybe the nose holes on one layer. I like to have maybe the lips on another layer since they're a different color. The main part of the face and the neck, the main colors that I was blocking in, like these right here. I like to have those on one layer, and then I like to have shadows above that layer when I'm painting. Okay, let's turn this off. So let me go back in here. Let's say that once I have my whole face blocked out in these colors the way I want it, let's say I can come back in here and I add another layer above, layer 4, and you always want your drawing above it so you can always see the pencil lines. Let's say I come in here and I want to put some shade in there or something like that. Let's say I want to, I'm going to come up here, I'm going to grab, you know, this, I want to put in, well, let's say I want to put a purple shade in, but it never would happen, but, well, I'm not going to do that. Okay, let's do this. I'll show you another trick. Take your color selector, select that color. Now, this is Procreate 5. Come down here to Harmony. Click on Harmony. Click on Complementary Color. And then click on Complementary again. And this will show you the picture that the picker selected. This is the exact opposite color, the color that complements this tan color. But what I like to do is take this and move it a little in. Now you got a darker color to shade with. Just move that straight in towards the outside. Now you'll get a darker color right there. So let's go back in here. Got your airbrush. Okay, and let's say we're going to set the opacity down on it some so it's not so strong. Now you can come back in and you can start to shade with a little bit darker color of the color that you picked. And you can do that on each one of these colors, but I mean, I would be shading this color here that I picked. Now this dark brown, I would do the same thing and maybe come on the side here a little darker, but you and you can also go lighter. Only if I want to add highlights right here, let's come back in here. This is the main color that I'm working with, the face color. I come back to my selector. I make sure the harmony's on, complementary color, and now I move this in, and now I get a lighter value, and my airbrush should still be on. Now I can come in here, and I can start painting in with a lighter value. Not quite light enough, but, oh, maybe I should move the opacity up a little bit on the whiter color, and you can kind of see that it's putting it in there. Also, you know, you can use your eraser, or I have light brushes, which I love. I'll show you how, actually I'll show you how those work here. Let's go to light brushes. This was a set that I bought off the internet. These are called light brushes. And I'm going to come down here and pick number 5. And then you can set the opacity wherever you want it. Let's try it about where we're at. Let's try that. Okay. And then we're going to set this to, I'm going to say like a light gray or something like that. All right, let's go to that light gray right there. And then you can take your light pen. Oh, Let's get a little bit more opacity, go a little bigger. And you can actually start painting some light in. Let me go down here. Let's get this opacity up a little bit more. Well, anyway, you kind of see what I'm doing here. Oh, I see. I'm going the wrong direction on the opacity. I should be coming down. I'll go bigger with this and go down with the opacity. And now I can start painting some light in. Pretty cool. Okay, now those are available. I think I paid $9 for the light pens. They're on one of the websites. Just look up Procreate light pens or lights, and you'll find them on the internet for sale. They're $9, from $5 to $9 or something like that. Okay. Another trick. I'm gonna put the main picture back in, and this here is pretty cool here. I'm gonna toggle these other ones off that I've been playing with, and I'm gonna leave my main lines in there. And then what you want to do, you want to come to the layer, your reference layer, your picture, click on it again, and you want to hit invert. And what this does, it takes a regular picture and makes it like a negative. It inverts anything that you have in that selection. You know, if you got red color, it might invert it to blue. It does exact opposite of whatever it is. You know, if you have blue selected, whatever the exact complementary color is, it's going to change it to that. But that's what it normally does. But I just come in, select the layer, the reference layer, and hit invert. Now it turns it into almost like a negative, which this is super cool because now I can almost see where every hair stroke needs to go. Very cool. And I mean, I can toggle this on and off anytime I want. You know, you just go back in here and hit invert again. Now you're back to your regular picture. Click on here, hit invert. Also, you can use your magic wand, my favorite tool. Come back in here, and you can change your brightness. Or your dark, you know, you get, you know, make it darker, lighter, you know, and you can also kind of map out. Oops, you can also map out, you know. Now you gotta watch it in this here because see, it's showing this area is dark over here. Got to remember this is in reverse, so the areas that it's showing the darkest are the lightest on the real picture. So, like this swatch of hair that's coming down through here looks very dark, but that's going to be your highlight in your main picture. This area here where it's white, oh, it's lost you somehow. Okay, this area here where it's very white around her face. Ah, crap. Come on. That's where the darks actually are, the real darks. So, you know, you can move the slider. You know, you can also play with your hue, saturation, anything you want to do on this too. But it's really cool. A lot of times I'll do this, and then I'll go back to my layer where I can map out. Okay, I'll go back to this layer here, which is my lines. Let's say I'm going to pick a color. Let's pick bright red so we can see it easy. I'm going to bring the slider down to here and put my opacity all the way up. And let's say I want to map out this hair here. Now I can kind of see right where my hair is going to go. You know, you can see that this kind of twists over here. All hair has kind of like triangle shapes in it. But anyway, you can sit here and play with it, and you can actually map out the whole flow of the hair. You know, I sometimes I do it with the pen turned down more. I also change colors. Like if I'm mapping the hair, I should have actually done that. I should have created a new layer when I map the hair separate from the face, because these lines in the face can be changed color. And then when you map the hair in a different color, you can change these lines to a different color, lighter, darker, whatever you need to do on your layers. So sometimes these mapping layers, I'll have 2 or 3 of those so I can adjust the colors. You know, I mean, you could, I mean, you could, some people call this tracing, but it's not really tracing in Procreate, because once you get out of this, you got a lot of drawing to do. Whoops, let me toggle this off here. Okay, let me toggle off. Okay, first of all, I'm going to turn this back. I'm going to invert that back to the normal picture. Now you can kind of see in her real hair, it's sometimes, if you don't look real close, you can't really see where the hair is going. But once you trace it out like that, when it's inverted, it's a lot easier to see the hair. Okay, now once I turn this off, I have the hair mapped out, and I have part of the face mapped out here. I mean, you can actually map all this out. Sometimes I really do detail mapping sometimes. I can spend an hour mapping hair if I've really got a lot of detail in there, I really want it right. So, and then what you can do, you create new layers above this map line, and you can draw right. If you keep this layer 4 above, you want to create a new layer, and you can start, well, here, let's do this. Create a new layer. Come on. If I put it above, and then I start drawing, let's say I'm going to pick a yellow. Okay. And I can't remember what brush I got here. Let's just go back up here and get a regular brush. Let's just get this. Okay, now let's say I start, you can set your opacity however you want. You can set your brush. Let's say I start putting, I start putting in the colors of the hair. And on hair, you always want to put your dark colors in first. Then you're going to put mid-range colors. And then your light colors are going to go over last. The dark colors of your hair are going to be down below here. And then your medium colors will be showing. And then the very lightest ones with the reflection of the light are going to be on top. So you should have 3 layers of hair, with your darkest, being, maybe around the face, and, in here, you're going to have some darks in here, and you'll have a little dark through here and dark down here. Then you put your mediums in, and then you want to put your lights. Your lights are your highlights over the top where the light is actually hitting the hair. So if you do a little study of hair, like, okay, let me go back in, let me toggle this off, this off. And let's go back to this. Okay, you got your darks in here. Okay, if you know anything about landscape painting, you always paint your darks first. Then you want to put in this medium color brown right here. That's your basic color of your hair. This hair here might have 5 or 6 colors in it. And then at the very last, you want to put in this very, very light color here. There we go. You want to put that very light color in. That's where the highlights, where the light is actually hitting. And then you got some some golden color over here. See that color I picked here was dark. Yeah, that's what you want underneath. Then you want to have this light color right here on top. That's your highlight. And remember, in the negative, when it was inverted, this shows up as black. So remember, it's reverse. It's like a negative. It's reverse. So very cool stuff. Then once you kind of get your, once you get it mapped and you start drawing, you got all your, layers turned on, and you start drawing it out. I got another layer here. That was and once you start drawing it all out, then right at the very last, you can toggle off your main lines and be done with them. Or in some photos, I actually leave them in and use them for real fine outlines of, eyes, nose, mouth, etc. And I just turn them down to where you can barely see them, to where they're just, don't make them black, like an outline. Turn them down to where they're this light color like this, where they actually look like it's, a little sketch or something you did right there. So, anyway, and then when you're all done, one last thing that I do like to do, some people like to flatten all the stuff when they're done with it. And once you flatten it, you can never come back in and change it again. Procreate saves this, so if I go out to the gallery and I start working on another picture, when I come back in, I'm still going to have all my layers. I'm going to have all this stuff to work with. So what I like to do is, if you want to flatten it, well, another thing I do here is here's the last trick, I guess. I will add a layer on top of everything. And this is my final layer above all the other layers. And this is my final shading. This is kind of like having the picture flattened down. Whatever shading, all this I put on this layer right here, the details, highlights, everything is going to be above all these other layers. So, you know, that will be my final shading. You know, little tweaks I got to do, anything like that. The other thing you can do, if you do like to flatten it down, you can go out into your gallery here, and you can select your work and hit duplicate. Now you have two copies, and they're exactly the same. Click off the X now. They're exactly the same, and when you go back into this, it saves all the layer information on both of them. You have exact copies of the whole project. Now, if you want to flatten this one down to try and, some people like to flatten them down to do the final touch up and the little final stuff on it, but you don't have the option to come back in and adjust the layer again with the sliders. So if you accidentally screw it up, you only screwed up a copy. Now you go back, you could go back out, you have your original back out there. Now you can just make another duplicate, and then you can play with that, and it keeps you from messing up your original. Then another thing I like to do is once the portrait is all completely done, instead of actually saving it, I do a screenshot with my iPad of the final product. You know, with all the layers, everything's still in there. Let's say that's my final picture. All you do is you press your power key and your volume up key at the same time real quick, and it does a screenshot, and it will save that picture into your pictures. So sometimes I'll take 2 or 3 pictures, or maybe I'll come back in and I'll change something, and I'll take another picture. Now I have a JPEG picture in my photos that I can put on Facebook or send to somebody or whatever. You know, I can even take it and have it printed, or I can print it, do anything I want with it. But I still have all my layers in here that I didn't have to compress into one picture, and I don't have to output this as one file. I just take a picture of it. So anyway, I think that's kind of it on my tricks, things that I do. I hope this helped everybody out, and thanks for watching my video.